Hi, welcome to another episode of Why Australia. I'm Lisa Rossmeissl, owner of Boomerang Escapes and certified Aussie travel specialist with Australia Tourism. Every Sunday at 3 p.m., I've been coming to you with information, tips, itinerary things, all things Australia and why you should go to Australia. What we like to start out with each week is some of our Aussie lingo. But before I grab that book, I just want to welcome all of you that may be new this week. And thank you to those of you that continue to watch. Again, if you ever have any questions, please use the comment section below or feel free to email me at lisa@boomerangescapes.com. I have been working with Australia and the South Pacific for over 10 years now. It is my specialty in travel, though Boomerang Escapes is a full service leisure travel agency with 8 planners to help you with your vacation needs. So let's get started with our Aussie lingo. Today's fun phrase is no flies on you. No flies on you. No flies on you is a compliment, meaning that you are clever. So if that somebody were to say that to you down there, no flies on you, they're actually giving you a compliment. And that will go out in our newsletter this week as well, and also on the Facebook page. If you ever want to keep up with things in travel or where I am too, we do have a weekly email newsletter, adventure newsletter. So feel free to ask to be signed up for that as well, or you can go to the website and download your free Australia travel planner. I can put a link in here later after this airs today. So again, welcome. It's Sunday. I'm going to go back to doing kind of a top 10, top things to do, and go back to South Australia, which is one of my favorite states to visit. I've been a couple times now to the state of South Australia. If we look back here, South Australia is down here, center south. So this whole square right here, it butts up against the Northern Territory. And then, of course, Kangaroo Island is also part of South Australia. So it's right in the center. It's in the south. Adelaide is its capital, and most likely the entry point for anything you're going to be doing in South Australia, or even as a hub to spoke off and do different things. So we'll talk about also one thing that I bring up with the animal experiences is that South Australia is one of 2 states only in Australia that allows the actual koala cuddle. So one of those koala cuddle spots I've mentioned before, it's something I did with my son, is Cleland Wildlife Park, which is a quick 20 minutes outside the city. There are plenty of things to do there. I think if you watch one earlier video, I go into more detail of your experiences you can do at Cleland, but the koala cuddle is definitely one of my favorite things to do. I am a huge animal lover. Koalas are my favorite animal, and particularly at this particular wildlife park, I was able to hold an adult koala, which was my first adult koala. Normally I'm holding the babies, and that was he was a hefty guy. So koala cuddle is one thing. And Adelaide itself, Adelaide is a beautiful, easy to get around, very walkable city. Again, most of the cities in Australia are really designed for the pedestrians. But Adelaide is kind of shaped in a square pattern, makes it very easy. And one of the highlights in Adelaide is the Adelaide Central Market Tour. This is one of Australia's largest fresh produce markets, and it brings in a lot of people. Any of the cities that you visit, I would ask about that, especially if you're into markets, so that we can time your visit to the city when the markets are open. It's a neat experience, and intermix with the locals, pick up some stuff. A lot of the accommodations we can set up for you do have the kitchenettes, so that's something to consider. South Australia is a wealth of experiences. It really encompasses the whole range of things that Australia has to offer, from that wildlife, from the wine and food, from the culture, from the, you know, sporting events, from coastal experiences. And speaking of the wine and food, since we just mentioned the market, South Australia has a big wine region. There's several wineries, wine tour options that you can do there. One of the most well-known is the Barossa. And in the Barossa, one of the things that you can do that's kind of fun is blend your own wine. Yeah, so you go out on the wine tour and you get to create your own wine on some of the tours here in the Barossa Valley for a different kind of wine experience. And one of the things, I don't know if you can see that popping above my map back there, one of the things that I like to give you if you are planning to do a wine tour is this is a bag that you can bring the bottle of wine back in your suitcase, safely protected, and no spills on your clothes, because this will go in the luggage below, in the belly of the plane, not your carry-on. So that's one thing that you can do. Also, staying up in the north side, if we continue to go north, the north part along the part that resides against the Northern Territory, we have a Wilpena Pound, Wilpena Pound, which is a region inside the Flinders Ranges. And this area, the landscape here is like 800 million years old. Like, it's so fascinating, and I highly recommend when you go out to Wilpena Pond to do either a hot air balloon or scenic flight experience to really encompass this ancient landscape. Also up in the north of South Australia is Cooper Pedy. Cooper Pedy is known as the opal capital, opal city. It's been mining opals for years, and you can do the mining of the opal at Cooper Pedy. But what's also very fascinating is the underground residents. Their homes are underground, and there's also, for you to experience that, a hotel, the Desert Cave Underground Hotel, where you are actually sleeping on ground. And this was all an adaptation, obviously, for the heat and temperatures of the desert up there on the north part of South Australia. Again, something completely unique and different to try. And of course, we mentioned that Kangaroo Island. Now, I probably and will down the road do just an episode on Kangaroo Island, but Kangaroo Island is part of South Australia. It is a great opportunity for wildlife. You can do a wildlife safari, spend a couple days down there. I mean, it can be a day trip, but I highly recommend 2 nights, maybe even 4 nights to experience this region of South Australia. One of the things that you can experience is the Seal Bay Beach Walk, which has a colony of 400 seals, and they're just right up there on the beach. They don't seem to mind what you're doing. Of course, with anything, as we mentioned, when you're approaching wildlife in the wild, not to get too close and to respect their space. And don't just stay on the land in Kangaroo Island. Kangaroo Island is also a great opportunity to go sailing. Get out on the water, take in the beautiful blues, sail around the island. Another opportunity. One other thing that I would like to mention for the region of South Australia, which is water-based, and I've actually had a client do this. He just did this last year in June, is the shark cage diving. You can go down to Port Lincoln, and there are several companies that I work with that allow you to go in the cages and experience a shark cage dive with the great white shark, like Jaws. And interestingly enough, a bit of the scenery for the early Jaws was filmed in Port Lincoln. I know most of a lot of the film spots were off the East Coast here by us in Martha's Vineyard, but they did actually use a spot there in Australia as well. So that, like I said, there is just such a wealth. I could really go on and on and on. These are just some of the highlights, just to whet your taste buds with what you can do with a South Australia visit. Now, South Australia is a little bit farther. I mean, most of my clients are tending to stay to that Queensland, New South Wales, maybe Melbourne. They're staying to the East Coast. So you do have to plan maybe a little extra time, especially if you're including Kangaroo Island. So you're looking probably at wanting, unless you just do an immersive experience, which I always recommend, just go to South Australia and make your entire time in South Australia. But if you're looking to mix South Australia with other states in Australia, then I suggest that we're at the 3 or 3 week mark even of time to spend visiting those states while you're there. So I'm keeping it short and brief. It is summertime here. I know we just came off of our 4th of July celebrations. I hope you're all getting that rest and relaxation and fun time in with your friends and family. And I look forward to bringing you another episode next Sunday. You can find us here, like I said, on the Australia Travel Expert page. We also will do a replay on the Boomerang Escapes on Fridays. So thank you again for joining me here on Why Australia. I'm Lisa Rossmeissl, owner of Boomerang Escapes, your certified Aussie travel specialist. Take care.